Hey everybody, you're watching A Physio Named Jonah. That's this guy. Exercise lovers, rejoice this week. We're back in the gym room. Similar to my recent video on bicep curls, we are going to again be covering an exercise and how you can best perform it with some things to avoid. This week's exercise is the common shoulder exercise, the lateral raise. By the end of this video, you will know what this exercise is, what muscle it's working on, how to best perform the exercise, as well as common mistakes to avoid. If you are new around here, consider hitting that subscribe button down below and clicking the bell so you are notified when I release new videos just like this one. I am a physiotherapist who works in Canada and makes physio-related videos like exercise videos. So if that's the kind of thing that interests you, come on, hang out, we'll have fun together. It'll be a good time. The lateral raise, well, it's exactly what it sounds like. It is an exercise where we raise a weight laterally or to the side away from our body. The entire exercise goes something like this. Ta-da! That's the whole thing. You start with the weights at your side. Keeping your arms straight, you raise them out to approximately shoulder height before returning them back to the original starting position. A couple questions you may be asking yourself are, if this exercise is so easy to do, how can it be any good? And also, if it's this easy to do, how can people possibly mess this thing up? Well, they do. Despite its simplicity, this exercise is actually very good at accomplishing what it sets out to do, which is primarily targeting the deltoid muscle. Now, the deltoid muscle is the muscle that we generally think of when we think of the shoulder. The deltoid has multiple heads or areas within the muscle itself. There's the anterior, middle, and posterior deltoid. The anterior deltoid is often referred to as the front deltoid or front of the shoulder. The middle deltoid, well, it's kind of anybody's guess where that could possibly be, while the posterior deltoid represents the back of the shoulder. One of the nice things about the lateral raise is that when we are raising the weight out to our sides, ideally we're getting contribution from all three heads of the deltoid muscle. The anterior, middle, and posterior deltoid fibers should all be active to some degree when we're holding the weight out to our side. Another reason that I like this exercise and I chose to do it in a video like this is because it's very easy to tell whether or not you're doing the exercise correctly. Because the technique is so straightforward, it's pretty easy to pick up on if there are any technique challenges that we're having. The main problem that people have with the technique of a lateral raise is lifting the weight with way too much momentum. This is the biggest problem, and I'm going to highlight what that looks like. You can see from me struggling away in this video that I'm using the shifting of my torso and movement of my lower body to create momentum through the body that I'm using to lift the weights. This means that all the force I would like to be creating with my shoulders is actually coming from other parts of my body. So you may be sitting at home thinking, okay, like whatever, I'm using some momentum. That doesn't really matter, does it? Like, quit judging my technique and nitpicking me from your ivory tower of exercise knowledge there, Mr. Physio, you jerk. And that's fair, but I'll tell you why it matters. For starters, lifting a weight like this is way less likely to actually activate the deltoid in the way that we want to with this movement. See right here at the top of the movement, as my momentum is being used to lift the weights, we naturally lean backwards and away from them. This leads to my shoulder being rotated backwards at the top of the movement, meaning that I'm likely going to be using much more of my anterior deltoid or front of the shoulder in comparison to the posterior deltoid or back of the shoulder. Looking from this angle, we can also see that because of my uncontrolled momentum strategy that I'm using, I'm also more likely to get a lot of contraction from my upper fibers of trapezius or my traps right here. This again takes away from the contractile force that we want to be primarily focused on our deltoids, the muscles we're trying to exercise. This is now me editing this video the day after and taking a look at the technique that happened. So I didn't expect this when I made the video in the first place, but oh my gosh, look at that lower back arch. That is completely insane. My uncontrolled momentum is throwing my low back into this insane arc forwards. My back hurts today. Performing this exercise with a lot of momentum also puts you at an increased risk for injuring or overusing something. This is because when you're using momentum to lift, you might not be able to actually control the weight in the position that it's in. This generally stems from picking a weight that's just too heavy to properly perform the exercise, so in order to actually get the weight up to shoulder height, you resort to using a momentum strategy because you can't lift it there with your shoulder on its own. So now we've used momentum to get this heavier weight than we can actually control into a vulnerable position for our joint and muscle, leading us to an increased likelihood of potentially hurting something because we're not actually able to control the weight in that position. That feels terrible. As I said in my video on the bicep curl, momentum in weightlifting is not always a bad thing. We just want to choose the right time and place to actually use it. Isolation exercises for one muscle group primarily, like the bicep curl or the lateral raise, just are not the proper time to be utilizing momentum because they decrease our ability to actually focus on one area at a time. Okay, so again, that's what we don't want to do. Let's re-emphasize what you do want to do with this exercise. I think importantly for starters, pick a nice low weight set of dumbbells that you can actually properly control. For reference, I pretty much always use 5-pound weights when I'm doing this exercise so that I can make sure I'm controlling the motion and activating the deltoid in the way that I want to. Granted, will that increase as I do more weightlifting this year? Hopefully, I can increase that weight a little bit, but I'm only going to increase the weight as I'm able to actually control the motion. Start with the weights by your side. Slowly, and without shifting your torso, lift the weights out to the side and up to shoulder height. Hold this position for a brief pause before slowly returning the weights down to your side. Both the raise and lower should be approximately equal speed, and your shoulders should be the only part of your body that's performing the movement. Quick little note here, it's also best to avoid shrugging your shoulders upwards towards your ears at the top of the motion, even when you are moving slowly. If you're having a difficult time performing this movement without the shrug happening, your weights may be too heavy for you, which is why your body is trying to recruit those upper fibers of trapezius. Lower your weights and try again. That actually really hurts my traps. So that's it. That's our exercise lesson for you today. I hope you enjoyed it and now feel a little more confident with how to actually perform a lateral raise, as well as what you are trying to focus on with this movement. Let me know in the comments section down below if you have any questions about this exercise or another exercise. If there's another exercise you'd like to see a video on like this, get in touch with me down there. I do my best to respond fairly quickly, so I look forward to chatting with you soon. But most importantly though, guys, as always, move your body, have a laugh today, and I will see you at the next video.